shit. That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to a special edition of Higher Ed Pulse. I'm your host, Mallory Wilsey, and we're live at the 2024 AMA Symposium for the Marketing of Higher Education, bringing you conversations directly from the floor with thought leaders, innovators, and industry changemakers. Let's dive in and check the pulse of what's happening right here at the symposium. All right, I'm back live at AMA with Marina Cooper, the Senior Associate VP for Brand and Marketing at Johns Hopkins University. She leads a team of about 20 people, and they're part of the larger division of marketing communications at JHU. Marina, it is so nice to see you at this event, and I'm curious to hear, we're in the second day of AMA now. There's been a lot of learnings, a lot of great sessions. What's a big takeaway or something you've learned that you are planning to bring back to your team at Johns Hopkins?
It's been a great start to AMA so far, but I'm actually looking forward to a session that's coming up that I haven't yet seen, and it's called Happy Birthday to Us, because starting next year, Johns Hopkins will be celebrating our 150th anniversary. And so I'm really excited to hear from, I think Helen Diamond is leading that session, to hear about how she leveraged obviously a really big institutional milestone for her institution. And those are the conversations we're having at Hopkins now. It's like, we're really excited to be 150 years old, but what's the opportunity this milestone provides for the institution to talk to our community, but also talk to the world about the great things happening.
That's incredible. I can't wait to find out more about this session and to keep an eye on what JHU winds up doing. But we're actually sitting down right now to talk about artificial intelligence. We ran into each other yesterday, and I started asking you some questions. And interestingly enough, it sounds like you haven't really started to explore AI yet. Why?
Yeah, it's so ironic that you looked at me and said, I want to talk about AI. And it's funny because Hopkins is leading, right, in this area. It's a tremendous thought leader. We just had a AI foundry, and we have a number of just disciplines in this area. But when we think about what I'm personally doing, I'm talking about me, in this moment, AI is sometimes still an afterthought for me. I'm often get through an exercise and I'm like, oh yeah, I could have used AI for that. I think my team is doing a great job of integrating it into their work. Right now, we use our asset manager, allows us to have an AI integration that as we do searches for great photography, we can use words like reflection, and thousands of incredible photos come up from our photographer across all of our properties and our beautiful campus. But for me, sometimes I forget, like, oh yeah, I could have used AI for that.
So as I've been talking to leaders like you at this event, it is pretty clear that the teams are using it, right? So individuals, whether they're being given permission or not, have started to integrate generative AI into all sorts of areas, from photo selection to content creation, data analysis, etc. You mentioned it's an afterthought, but where are you curious about AI right now?
Yeah, I have a lot of curiosities, and I think when I get more proficient, the places I want to go is developing personas and then testing our work against what a student or a potential target, a policymaker or an insider, influencer, how they would react to certain campaigns. I've seen colleagues talk about this, here this week, and I've heard them on your podcast as well talk about how you can build this with an AI and work that way. And then, as we know, our belief systems about what certain personas will do just isn't always accurate, and so using AI in a way that allows us to pull all the actual behavior together and values together, and then push it through, is really exciting to me, interesting to me. And if there's anything I would want to test first, I think that would be it.
I love that you mentioned personas. Our creator, Brian Piper, talks a lot about building student personas through AI. In fact, we just had him at our AI Engage Summit back in October, and he did a whole session on that topic. Listeners, you can find that on the website, a little plug for that. But I think there's a lot of untapped opportunity there too. And right now, my sense is that a lot of people are like still stuck in that ideation mode. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll turn to ChatGPT and like ask it for a couple ideas, but they're not actually using it to produce work like personas or marketing campaigns, etc. And I think that until this technology is built into the tools we're already using, right, I think there's a barrier there in that it's still this third-party thing. So it becomes an afterthought. Like you said, oh, I could have turned to ChatGPT or Claude for that. If it was just built into the tool you're already using, it'd be right in your face. So I think that's a barrier. And I'm curious if there's been any other barriers for you.
I think that's a great point. And it's funny because the example I gave you of how I haven't used it yet is pretty sophisticated, right? It's probably one of the more complex ways to build your AI experience. But that's also my problem, is that I overthink and I want to take it to, level 10 immediately, when sometimes I just miss the opportunity to use it as a better search engine, right, for the internet. So I think the only barrier that I've had with AI so far has just been making the time. And an example where I actually did make the time was as a member of the planning committee here for AMA. We had to come up with just the little phrases and the descriptions of what each idea exchange is. And the idea exchanges are the peer circles where we have the opportunity to just talk about what we're doing on our campuses centered around certain topics like brand strategy or in this context, post-selection. What are the big things we want to talk about? And we need to give the conference attendees, an opportunity to get a glimpse of what those conversations could be like. What are the prompts? I used coffee and AI to help create what those descriptions were. And I was so proud of myself. Like, I reported out, I was like, you guys check my work. But I did use AI this Saturday morning. I made the time. That was a barrier. And I remembered that it was available to me. So I am taking those baby steps. But yeah, I do often leap to those big, complex, perhaps solutions that I need to get more proficient in order to be able to execute AI.
You are definitely not giving yourself enough credit when it comes to your use of AI. I mean, I thought we were going to get into this interview and you're going to be like, well, I've opened up ChatGPT once and I said hello. No, you were using it, Marina. And that's the thing. It is getting fluent with AI and learning about it, but then just starting to experiment. I mean, I think that's where people sometimes feel like they don't have the time for it. And that has been this recurring theme these last couple days. What's the barrier? It's time. And now I've said it on probably 3 or 4 of these recordings, but I would argue we don't have the time to not start adopting AI. It is moving faster than anything else we have seen. If this is like 1995 internet days, right? Like, we're going to be in what we know as a 2024 internet days with AI in like 3 months. Like, it's moving so fast. So leaders out there listening to this, like, I urge you to make the time to experiment. We all need to just, I think, prioritize it a little bit better, because if we don't, we're going to be left behind. So as we wrap this up, Marina, last question for you, because you are on the planning committee and I am such a fangirl of this conference. Give our listeners a little glimpse or taste into what may be coming up this next year with AMA, and like, where's the conference going to be next year?
Well, I'm excited to report that the conference is returning to the DMV. So that's exciting. We'll be at the National Harbor next fall. So make your plans now, get ready, get your teams excited. I'm getting my team excited because anytime we're a local, I'm like, come on guys, we can drive, we can do this. This is the only place where, right across all the disciplines that cover marketing, we can be together. We can be candid. We can get behind the scenes about what we're doing. We can have real talk. And it's special. I think that's why this conference is blowing it out of the water in terms of capacity every year, and we expect that to continue next year. I think in terms of opportunities of our location next year, I'm really excited to bring more conversations around our teams, how we build them, what they look like. And I don't mean in identity, but I mean just across the board in terms of their expertise. And I'm really excited to bring those conversations to the conference next year in terms of how we look at our work.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much. I know we've got a session to run to, so we're going to wrap this one up. Folks, we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. The Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify Podcast Network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our show helps higher ed marketers and admission pros find their next big idea and features a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Brian Gross, Eddie Francis, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.